workforce.
Fired but not forgotten. The Testimony Project. Bearing witness, breaking silence, building community. KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to amplifying the voices of Black federal workers impacted by the mass firings. Rooted in the Black tradition of testimony, this initiative ensures that those who served us are not erased from history. Through firsthand accounts, investigative storytelling, and community-driven dialogue, we intend to expose injustice, preserve truth, and demand accountability. If you or someone you know has been forced out of federal employment due to the mass firings, please contact us at info@smileyAudiomedia.com or via the open mic feature on the KBLA 1580 app. We want to hear from you and share your story. KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Welcome in. Happy Wednesday. It feels really good to be back here with you with Jill Monroe on KBLA Talk 1580. Locked in. A little Sherilyn to get us started. No, that's right. You are locked in with me for your entertainment news update. I hope that you are staying dry out there, that you are, relaxed and situated so that we can get into these trending topics and headlines. You know that, as always, we have a lot to talk about. So tonight we are getting into Sherri Shepherd. She spoke out recently about some of the fashion that we saw on the red carpet for the Oscars and the after parties. And she said Auntie's not happy about it. Auntie wants to have a conversation. So we're going to hear her comments and get a little bit into, fashion responsibility and where we see trends headed currently. We're also going to get into, I think it's long overdue. We know bits and pieces about Charlie Murphy's story, but we have never had anything solely dedicated to, what went into Charlie's struggle, the things that he did with a famous older brother that was a rock star comedian before that term was even a thing. He probably invented it. There's a documentary being put together about him, and the person that's producing it might surprise you. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to get into Prince's estate. As I told you, there was a 12-hour documentary with Netflix that was done that was ultimately scrapped, and they're going to be starting again from scratch. Well, the director of that documentary has spoken out, and he has some words to say about why the documentary is no longer happening, and he's not happy with Netflix. Let's just say, in other words, we got a lot to get into tonight, so let's run it. So first up, we talked to Jabri Hodges a couple weeks ago from Beyond the Gates. We know Beyond the Gates premiered last week, and so far it has become a ratings splash. That is the new soap opera. It's the first new soap opera on CBS in decades, actually. And, it has a predominantly black cast. It was created in collaboration between the NAACP and CBS. And so far, it is a rating smash. It's the number one show in its time slot, and it's bringing a lot of new energy to daytime TV. A lot of people are saying it's bringing back those classic soap opera moments that you love, the campiness and over the top of soaps. So it's also available to stream, which is a new thing for soaps. I mean, the soaps that are still left obviously have jumped into that. But really, if you think about it, back in the day, unless you were breaking out your VCR to record soap operas, you had one shot. There were no reruns. They did not run them later in the summer. because it was a new episode every day, basically. So a lot of material. So I want to know if you were checking out Beyond the Gates and what your thoughts are thus far. So I thought this story was interesting. We talk a lot about the dynamics of celebrities and athletes because they operate under sometimes an interesting set of rules, even though they are regular people, right? And former NFL star Brandon Marshall talked about his recent dating experience. Brandon is newly divorced. He was married for 14 years. And he shared that an A-list actress flew him out to Mexico. Now, he didn't say any names, but he said absolutely Hollywood moves differently because the podcast that he appeared on, they said, but you're Brandon Marshall. How could you hide? And he was like, nope. Hollywood does it differently. They have the room set up, the back entrances, all of that. Yeah, that just means that you athletes at times, when you first get in there, you don't learn the game or you don't want to because you want to be young, fly, and flashy. I understand. But, as the WNBA increases in popularity and it's all of these things, will we hear more stories about men getting flued out? And will they have the same type of buyer's remorse that sometimes some of the women have in the stories and the exposed text messages? I think we might get a little of that. We already do now. When we come forward, we're going to get into Sherri Shepherd's comments about Megan Thee Stallion and others. And, of course, we're going to get your opinion on all these trending topics and headlines. You're locked in with Jill Monroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're riding with Jill Monroe on KBLA Talk 1580. Who cares about the black community in Altadena? We do. On Saturday, March 8th at 10 a.m., it's the premiere of Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr. This new weekly show will explore the deep roots and resilience of Altadena's black community as we track its recovery and reimagine its future. From relief efforts to rebuilding, we're raising up voices, stories, and solutions to build back Black Altadena better and stronger than ever. It's Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr every Saturday at 10 a.m. beginning Saturday, March 8th with an encore presentation Sundays at noon.
James Farr, the man who is the voice for Black Los Angeles.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Charmin Ultra Strong. You can use less, better than the rest. Charmin Ultra Strong. Your booty past the clean test. Salmon weave texture, it's the best. Study up, teach a lesson on fresh. Your booty past the clean test. Yes, sir. Charmin Ultra Strong.
Charmin Ultra Strong with diamond weave texture cleans better than the leading one-ply brand, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
What's that sound? That's the sound of Downy Unstoppable scent beads going into your washing machine and giving your clothes freshness that lasts all day long. There it is again. It's like music to your ears, or more like music to your nose. That freshness is irresistible. Let's get a Downy Unstoppables bottle shake. And now a sniff solo. Nice. With Downy Unstoppables, you just toss, wash, wow, for all-day freshness.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more entertainment news with Jill Monroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome back into KBLA Talk 1580. You are here with Jill Monroe for your entertainment news update. Now, of course, before we get into these topics, if you want to join in and give your opinion, 800-920-1580. Of course, we're also available on social media, KBLA 1580. I'm personally at Stiletto Jill. Hit us up, holler at us. If you want to, drop us a little message later, you can always do that on the app. KBLA Talk 1580. Go download that. Now, let's get into these topics. Sherri Shepherd obviously has a very popular talk show. And earlier this week, she shared her strong opinions about some of the fashion that we saw over the weekend following the Academy Awards. Well, actually, on the Academy Awards red carpet, as well as at some of the after parties, including specifically the Vanity Fair after party, which the Vanity Fair after party is one of the sought after events. It's a classic one that has been in existence for a very long time. It was a really hot ticket to get. Of course, now the culture wants to be at the gold party, and the gold party is thrown by Beyonce and Jay-Z, and that is the ticket generally that we want to be at. But the prestigious one, the classic one, sort of, the premiere, I guess. Well, is it still the premiere if I think the gold surpassed it? I don't know. That's a conversation for another day. Anyway, is the Vanity Fair party. And if you've seen any of the photos from it, Megan wore a green dress that had feathers at the top and 2 green pasties. And that's about all that was going on at the top. We saw Zoe Kravitz, for example, on the red carpet for the Academy Awards with a little heart detail in the back area of her dress that was very, very low, showed, crackage, all of that going on. It's cute, though, real cute. And Sherri Shepherd is basically like, enough is enough. Consider your fans. Now, I'll get into my thoughts about that and what she said after we get an earful of Sherri's thoughts on why these young ladies need to cover up a bit.
This was fully, you could see everything. Zoe Kravitz graced us with her butt crack. You could see everything. Megan Thee Stallion wore a dark green gown with only matching green pasties to cover up her breasts. And so this is where I have to put my Auntie Sherri wig on. And I say this with all of the love that I have. Ladies, this is not it. And I say this because there are young women, young girls who are looking up to all of you. All of you. And you're going to have these young girls, these young ladies emulating you. And you remember when your grandmother would tell you, let them use their imaginations. Be a little mysterious. But, when they look at these girls, they don't have any secrets. Nobody gets to use imagination or their mind. And I want to say, Megan Thee Stallion, I love you. I do. But I'm so upset because God gave you a legitimate gift. You are amazing with your lyrical rhymes and how smart you are. And I know a lot of these celebrities, they say they don't want to be a role model. But here's the thing. It comes with the territory, being a role model. You can't escape it because, Megan, when you said you graduated from college, do you know how many young girls you inspired to go to school also? You didn't ask for that. You didn't ask for that, but they were watching you. And I know people say, well, Lil' Kim did it. But I remember when I saw it, I was like, why is she doing that? She doesn't have to do that because she's so talented. And I know Megan as an artist, you get a little raunchy. I done heard WAP and Body Yaddy Yaddy. But I also say, and I listen to those songs too, but I also say, to whom much is given, much is required. And if you say, well, how do I know that these young girls are looking up to you? Because they look up to me too. And I get more more girls coming up to me, young girls saying, Miss Sherri, I want to be a talk show host, or I want my own talk show, or I want to be an actress. I want to do what you do. So they are watching. And I'm not trying to shame anybody. I'm just concerned where all this is going. I said it before when I talked about Kanye's wife who went to the Grammys last month, and she took off her coat and had nothing on. It literally, it wasn't just her cookie jar. We saw cakes and croissants, too, when she was standing there. But the one thing I would say is she looked very uncomfortable. At the end of the day, if you look at his wife, she looked, Bianca Censor or something like that, she looked really uncomfortable to be, because you're standing in front of a bunch of men who are watching it. And this is what I said, we have to think about our future. And all y'all who are sitting out there, these young girls that are emulating you, they don't have security around them. So they're emulating you, and they go to these parties and something tragic could happen. These are our future, these young women and these young men. I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I love all of y'all, but Auntie Sherri has spoken. And that's the thing. You ain't got to go dressing like I don't want to call out. You don't have to, dress down to your ankle. Willie made me wear this long dress. You think? But I'm just saying, just think about it when you're putting on this stuff. Like, who am I influencing? Who's going to be watching me? You never know. You never know. So that's it. Off my soapbox.
So listen, there was a lot there. Starting off, I understand where she is coming from. However, I also remember what it's like to be in my 20s. And I remember at times when, you might feel like you want to be a little cuter. Do I personally agree with her? Do I think that Megan could have stunted in that outfit, even been revealing without the pasties? Yeah. However, do what you do, girl, because it's a phase that I think, and I've talked about it all the time, right? Back in the 90s, there was a thing called Girls Gone Wild. I know it's not in high favor anymore and that there's a lot of regret and shame around it, but here's the thing. At the time, right, those young ladies did what they did, and for the most part, we know that there's stories now, but for the most part, went on to have regular lives, do whatever, soccer moms, and people allowed that. They were allowed to have, oh my God, when I was in college, I was so wild. I cannot believe some of the things I did. They're allowed to do that, right? But Black women seemingly are not. They don't have the same type of leverage. And I feel like sometimes there are phases. Now, you can talk to them and talk about sometimes what the attention can do for you, but just to kind of put on it that you got to be a role model, nobody's always accepting of that. And sometimes, you know what? Our role models might be naked, but it doesn't mean that we have to take that aspect of what they're doing and apply it to us as well. There is a thing called staging, and they're on TV. And I know sometimes if you look in the streets that a lot of people believe themselves to be the main character. Main character syndrome is a thing in their own, reality show of life. But at the same time, it is a phase. And sometimes we experiment. We try different things with our hair, our style of dress, our makeup, all of these things in route to finding our ultimate self. So while I understand and, maybe even slightly agree, with some of it, because I just, fashion-wise, for me, it wasn't a powerful look. It just seemed gratuitous to me. That's really my take with it. But, I say do as you do. Andy?
When have you looked at Megan as this fashion icon? Everything that she dresses is gratuitous.
I agree with you. Some people used to say that she dressed like, she was in the WWE getting ready to go fight up there with some of the girls. But again, there are some people who find her fashionable and will emulate the looks that she puts out. That is a part of popularity, celebrity, all of these things that comes along with it. The chat has a lot of opinions about this. I'm going to get to some of these opinions, and then we'll go back to you, Andy, because I see you have something else to say. Trent the artist says, when Toni Braxton wore the white dress to the Grammys, she was a full-grown woman and didn't get the hate like this. Even when Lil' Kim had a whole chi-chi out, Diana Ross fondled it and moved on. Lou Piramo says, it's just a chi-chi. They're not saying chi-chi. I'm saying chi-chi, just so you know. Damon Haley says, strong parents at home does not let the evening attire at the Oscars impact those girls the day after. I agree. Fahima says, I do love Megan and also support Sherri Shepherd. I'm with Sherri on this. Megan doesn't have to do that. She's got skills and talent. But what I want to keep in mind is part of her skills and talent is based on being a hottie, is based on throwing it in a circle. You can't forget that that is part of the image that hot girl summer tongue out. Like, that's part of what she is selling with her, verbose. So I don't expect her necessarily to come all the way around and be, a schoolgirl. But I understand that they move through phases, and I just sometimes think that, what do you want them to be? Do you want her to be a role model rapping about, I'll take your cash, I'm going to have you swallow, dip, get on your knees, lips lick,
Sunday's
all of
best
that stuff?
attire.
Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I think that at times, and I know no one signs up in this instance to necessarily be a role model. And I get that by default, some of that happens. I really understand that. And I'm not sweeping that to the side or ignoring that. But I'm also saying be realistic about what you're role modeling of. Do you know? I loved a lot of things that I was like 10, loving Vanity 6. Did I put on some lingerie and step outside? Not like that. Not necessarily. Do you know what I mean?
Now, why was that, Jill?
Because I knew that although I felt a kinship to it, that was not my life, and I was not on stage performing. Again, understanding that now the lines are kind of blurred, and most people think that they are the main character in their own sitcom or reality show, but I still think, there is some room for decorum. I think mystery stands out in an era where everything is overexposed, but I don't automatically say, you got to do it because my kids are watching. That, I feel like, is unfair. Summer says you can dress sexy without looking vulgar. Agree, 100%. Maurice Gucci says, good evening, everyone. Stiletto Jill, your fit and look reminds me of Robin. Miss her so much. You're wonderful as well, Jill. Thank you so much. We miss Robin. That kind of caught me off guard, so appreciate you. Pretty Brown Mimi says, Megan is a gorgeous girl, but she was dressed for the Grammys. I wish her stylist would have stepped it up. Maybe, maybe not. Terry says, I used to go to the beach and I would see that all the time. I haven't been at the legal naked. I've been at the legal naked beaches as well. Well, all right, Terry, you always got some interesting things in your backstory. I don't know. I want to know what your life is like, because I suspect it's some things going on, Terry. I wonder occasionally. I'm kidding. Shout out to you. Thanks for checking in. So listen, I mean, we have a variety of thoughts on that. I just think that, again, understanding where Sherri's coming from, but also understanding that sometimes women look at this stuff as a phase. And I understand what she's saying about girls not being protected when they go to parties and guys assuming the whole thing. But if we spent so much time also yelling, it doesn't matter what you wear, you could get attacked anywhere, then we have to be true to that too and respect the words of that too. That even if you had on a turtleneck and an overcoat, something still could happen. So with respect to, I like a little mystery, and I would like to see a little more clothes occasionally, than just chi-chi out in the open. But I feel it. I feel their artistic expression. I'm willing to roll with that.
Can we leave Megan Thee Stallion alone and let her be her?
Okay.
Or let's stop booking her at events because you know how she's going to come dressed. You know what I'm saying? I like what Mr. Haley had to say. You know what I'm saying? the parent, come on now, or the guardian, the big brother, the big sister, come on now. If Megan Thee Stallion is more of a role model than whoever, your superior is, maybe we need to discuss that. You know what I'm saying? Let's have a discussion about why she's dressed up like that, and maybe why it might not be wise for you to go out there like that. You know what I'm saying? And let's continue to highlight the fact that, she got her college degree. I'm gonna go ahead and twerk, and you know what? I'm gonna go get into my books at the same time too. Let's not, I feel like we try to limit people. We limit people. Let people live.
And again, I understand it comes from a place of that there was a time period where we didn't get to see ourselves on television and in these spaces often, and we wanted to make sure the representation that was put out there of us was one that we not only could be proud of, but that they couldn't use to point to as a reason not to let us in the door. But guess what? We're in the door now, and though they're trying to push us back out, we are not backing out. So I feel like we are allowed to get into our own expression as much as they are. And again, they are phases. Miley Cyrus went through, I will always bring this up, her whole bangers era where she was hip hop in the J's with my perk on, right? She was banging it out, and now she's wrecking ball and doing country albums, and she's very demure, very mindful. So I think that we can't also limit us. Christina Aguilera, another one. She went through the dirty period, right? So I think that we just got to let them grow and evolve out of those things. Now, I understand if 10 years from now we're still looking at Megan and she's still like, twerk, 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 and hasn't given us anything else of substance during that time period, then maybe we have a different conversation. Andy?
As you were naming other artists and stuff like that, right? This is on the opposite side of the spectrum, right? I look at somebody like Aaliyah. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? She was very tomboyish, real thuggish looking. Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like the public kind of bullied her into becoming more feminine or whatnot.
I don't think that they bullied her. I think that was where she was feeling as a woman. Remember, I worked on her last project. I think that was the evolution of her growing as a young woman, as I'm trying to say, allow these other young ladies to grow into. When we come forward, we're going to get into the Charlie Murphy documentary that's coming up, plus more trending topics and headlines. All that and more on the other side. You are locked in with Jill Monroe on KBLA Talk 1580, News, Traffic, and Sports. Next.
You're in the know with Jill Monroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. African-American Texas Congressman Sylvester Turner is dead. It was announced this morning in a state legislative hearing. Turner, who represented Houston, replaced African-American Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee after her death last year. DC's Black Lives Matter Plaza is being replaced with a mural for America's 250th birthday. The site, a key protest spot after George Floyd's death, faces changes after a GOP bill pushed for its removal. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams is testifying before Congress on sanctuary city laws, stressing New York City is not a haven for violent criminals. He vows to target gangs with federal help, but faces criticism for allegedly cooperating with President Trump to ease his corruption charges. In Iowa, Republicans are aiming to ban DEI initiatives in colleges with the Freedom Form Indoctrination Act, blocking required courses on racism and social justice. The bill must clear committee this week for a Senate vote. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
North Hollywood, a crash on the 170. This is northbound past Sherman Way. They're clearing it out of the carpool lane. Delays away from Oxnard Street. Santa Clarita, this ongoing issue on the 5 southbound before the 14 has the 2 right lanes shut down due to an ongoing investigation after an earlier crash. Big delays for McBean Parkway and the Old Road, very jam-packed as well. Arcadia, 210 westbound before Baldwin Avenue. Earlier crash out of lanes. Delays from Mountain Avenue out of Monrovia. And Yucaipa on the 10 eastbound past Live Oak. A crash to the shoulder slows you down from Waterman.
Let Express Employment Professionals help you hire for contract or full-time jobs. Forget about recruiting, sifting through resumes, and interviews with unqualified applicants. Go to expresspros.com to find the location near you. That's expresspros.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Another win for the Lakers, another milestone for LeBron. The Lakers extended their winning streak to 7 games after their 136-115 win over New Orleans at Crypto.com. First 7-game winning streak for the Lakers since February 12, 2021. As for LeBron, he became the first NBA player to score a combined 50,000 points in the regular season and playoffs. The 22-year veteran passed the 50,000 mark on his first shot, a three-pointer with 8 minutes left in the first quarter. LeBron finished with 34 points. He now has 41,871 in the regular season and 8,162 in the playoffs. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Put this man in the Hall of Fame right now. The Clippers have lost 3 straight. They had a 19-point lead in Phoenix at the start of the fourth quarter and couldn't hold it. Phoenix fought back to pull out a 119-117 win. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
There's new reaction following the Trump administration's sweeping efforts to cut the federal workforce.
Fired but not forgotten. The Testimony Project. Bearing witness, breaking silence, building community. KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to amplifying the voices of black federal workers impacted by the mass firings. Rooted in the black tradition of testimony, this initiative ensures that those who served us are not erased from history. Through firsthand accounts, investigative storytelling, and community-driven dialogue, we intend to expose injustice, preserve truth, and demand accountability. If you or someone you know has been forced out of federal employment due to the mass firings, please contact us at info@smileyAudiomedia.com or via the open mic feature on the KBLA 1580 app. We want to hear from you and share your story. KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Looking for a purposeful and passionate way to make a difference in your community? Volunteer with our Senior Medicare Patrol and help prevent Medicare fraud. SMP volunteers work in their community educating peers about healthcare fraud and how to prevent and detect it. Free training starts soon. Check us out online or at an SMP open house near you. We're on a mission to stop fraud. Join our team. You make a difference. Visit caspvolunteer.org. Protect yourself from Medicare card scams. Scammers may call, email, or even knock on your door claiming they need your Medicare info, asking for money or threatening to cancel your benefits. Don't fall for it. It's a scam. Remember, Medicare doesn't need to verify your information. They already have it. Medicare won't charge you for a new card and will never threaten to cancel benefits. Check your Medicare statements for suspicious charges and report scams to the California Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-855-613-7080. We're here to help.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. The Live Your Life organization mentors young women, helping them break negative mindsets and see beyond their surroundings. Through career exposure and hands-on training, they're encouraged to think big, stay focused, and make positive choices. Founded by Nikisha Mama Boo Smith, who transformed her life to become a community leader. Live Your Life is changing lives, but they need your help. They're raising funds to keep their new building open and expand their programs. Your donations will support food, clothes, hygiene products, and holiday giveaways. Visit liveyourlife32.com. That's LIVEYOLIFE32.com to help today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Jill Monroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm so fresh, man. Man, y'all scared to do it how I do it.
I'm in the club with some shades on. Tatted up, mini skirt with my J's on.
In the club with some shades on. Tatted up, mini skirt and my J's on.
J's on my feet, you know it. J's on my feet, you know it. J's on my feet, you know it. So get like me. J's on my feet, you know it. J's on my feet. J's on my feet. So get like me.
I be in the club
Miley's ad-libs on this had me going. You were locked into KBLA Talk 1580 with Jill Monroe on the Entertainment News Update. So you know Andy's always on theme. So since we talked about Miley and her bangers era, I had to play a little something from it. That was the single. Mike Will made it, was the producer on it. There were rumors that they might have been dating a little bit at the time that was going on, you know, but it did some things for her. Got her some movement, got her out of the Hannah Montana mode. That's for certain, right? Andy, why are you laughing? What did I say?
Was that for the culture?
That was not for the culture. That was the classic playbook that we've seen happen many times before.
The culture embraced that record, though.
Here's the thing.
I was lit. I was turned.
We embrace. It is hard for us to bypass a hot record, no matter who it comes from. Do you know? If you did your thing, we're like, you did your thing, right? But she has moved on. She doesn't even acknowledge that era. She doesn't want to talk about it. And they're allowed to do that, like I said.
Which brings me to this question. Beyonce just dropped Cowboy Carter.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say she said,
won a Grammy, I believe, for the song with Miley, or it was nominated.
Boom. Well, let's say she's done with R&B. Let's say she's done with even hip-hop artists doing songs with me. Strictly country. Are we in support of that?
Some people are going to be very upset about it. I mean, here's the thing. As an artist grows and develops, naturally, sometimes you outgrow an artist. Sometimes an artist will outgrow you, their direction that they go in. Like, respectfully, there are some artists that I love down. I love their early stuff. Their current stuff, I'm cool. I still respect you. I respect your artistic endeavor and that you want to stretch and grow as an artist. This chapter of your evolution just may not be for me to be a consumer of. And that's okay, right? That is perfectly fine. I think people need to get okay with that too. You do not have ownership over the direction of these people's careers. And if they make a turn or do something that is out of line with you and it doesn't align with your spirit, there are other things that you could tap into. You could always go back to the old stuff, whatever rocks with you. I think that we, put too much focus on things that are meant to entertain at the end of the day. An entertainer, although they can, and I'm not one-dimensionalizing these individuals, I'm not like, what was her name said, shut up and dribble or anything like that. You can be multifaceted. But at the end of the day, we are aware of these individuals because of a talent or a skill set that drew us to them initially. So anything else you get with that is a bonus for me. But maybe I think too rational about it. Stand-up is weird to me. Listen, I meant to bring this up earlier, but I wanted to make sure and mention we want to send prayers out to Dwayne Wiggins. He is 1/3 of Tony. And it was announced today on his Instagram account. There have been rumors about his health status for a few days. And basically, his family shared, we wanted to share that Dwayne Wiggins is experiencing medical complications. He is working through it one day at a time. We know he's beloved by so many, and we are grateful for your prayers and concern. We are also requesting that you respect the family's privacy during this time. So it comes at a time, where there are rumors that he was in hospice battling some type of illness. So the family has spoken, asked for your prayers, and then respect of the privacy. Tony did a reunion tour. I think it was last year. It was only a handful of shows, but, if you were lucky enough to check that out then, seems like, it might be a while before we'll get to see the trio together again. And as I said, Slow Wine, that was one of the songs he sang the lead on. That is one of my favorite Tony songs that gets kind of overlooked. Obviously we know It Never Rains in Southern California, Anniversary, If I Had No Loot. What was their first song? Tony, Make the Car Go Boom, with Vanessa Williams, Oakland Strut. That's what it was. So, we don't talk about Tony as far as groups, late 80s and the 90s as much. We talk about Raphael, of course, in his production and some of his solo stuff and even his stuff with Lucy Pearl. But we got to give flowers and props to the entire group of Tony. So shout out to them. Okay, so speaking of giving flowers, George Lopez is producing a documentary on Charlie Murphy. We know Charlie passed away in 2017 at 57 due to a battle with leukemia, but George Lopez wants to share his friend's story. It is going to be called Darkness, the Charlie Murphy story. It's currently in production right now, and we know, obviously, Charlie was a legend in his own right. We saw his kind of climb to the top. We saw him, he was always in the background or in some type of role in one of Eddie's movies. And then where we really got to see his full-on personality, of course, was in the Chappelle Show in, 2003, 2004. And we got to see every bit of his storytelling, legendary, how do I want to, I don't know. I don't want to understate the moment because think about it. The Rick James story, people are still talking about that and the retelling and, Bump Your Couch and the Prince basketball thing. I mean, 20 plus years later, still referring to such a small moment in a show that had many, many moments in its own right. So Lopez calls him one of the funniest people he ever knew. And what is interesting to me, maybe not, I know that we talked about that there's an Eddie Murphy documentary that is going to be dropping soon about his career in the early days, but I wonder why Eddie's not involved. Just curious. I know that they kind of, did things separately out of respect and things like that. I'm sure he will be interviewed in this thing, but I wonder, maybe we'll find out more about their relationship than the things that have already been dropped and why, they kind of kept it sort of separate and, business over here, family over here. When we come forward, we're going to get into the director of the shelved Prince documentary, Ezra Edelman. He is furious with Netflix. So we're going to get into what he says about the documentary and what his problem is with Prince's estate. All that and more on the other side. You're locked in with Jill Monroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You ride with Jill Monroe on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Life blooms in beautiful ways. The Afia Center invites you to celebrate At the End with Red Gala, honoring the strength and resilience of Black women living with HIV. Join us for an evening of empowerment as we launch the Barbara Cambridge Scholarship and kick off Her Story Month with our theme, Life in Full Bloom. Your support helps create vital HIV programming and builds a future where every voice is heard and every story matters. The End with Red Gala, because every flower deserves to bloom. To learn more and to donate, visit theafiacenter.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Jill Monroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome back in. You are locked in with Jill Monroe on KBLA Talk 1580. Man, Roy Ayers. I feel like a lot of Roy Ayers' music, it reminds me, one, of when I was a kid. And it made me think about, I don't know why, rich black people or wealthy black people, of, affluence. It just seemed to give those vibes. So, unfortunately, we have to say rest in peace to him. Man, such a classic. Black men, take care of your health. We just talked about Dwayne Wiggins, all of the other things that we have been talking about over these past few weeks. Our legacies are drifting away. And I hope that we are documenting them. I hope the families are, taking notes, taking pictures, recording conversations, even within your own family, because obviously we see where our government is looking as far as Black history and those stories and things of that nature. Maybe now those of us that didn't, have a better understanding of what our ancestors had to do in order to keep our traditions, our history at the forefront, and we take that more seriously ourselves, because we are losing the ones, the titans, the icons, the blueprints left and right. So shout out to him. Love and light sent to him and his family. Speaking of legends that are no longer with us, there was a Netflix documentary on Prince. It was going to be about, I think 10 to 12 hours was what they said the running time came in at. And it was by award-winning director Ezra Edelman. I believe he did Made in America, OJ Made in America. I believe it was the director of that. And so he says the reason why Netflix and Prince's estate pulled the plug on the documentary, which, guess why, you can certainly imagine, is because the estate tried to control the story. And he said the documentary featured rare footage, over 70 interviews, and details about Prince's personal struggles. And I'm assuming that is the avenue that his family had the most problems with. And that, they came back to him. They were supposed to be looking it over for factual information, for anything, unfactual information, to fact check it, to make sure that there was no, anything that was not true in it. Well, they didn't come back with those type of notes or anything. He says that they came back with about 30 pages of requests or changes of information and story and things that were included in the documentary. So we talked about this briefly, and what we thought is that the gift and the curse of a family member being involved in a story like this is that there undoubtedly will be certain areas and details that we, the public, will want to know, maybe even feel entitled to know, but the family would not want out there, or even the individual. You know, we've talked about it. Prince was notoriously private. There are certain aspects of his life he didn't speak about. We know that there are a lot of things that changed as far as Prince went when he became a Jehovah's Witness. We know that Prince never spoke about his son that passed away. And there was scenes and information about that. I believe Mayete, his ex-wife, they interviewed her in there. So there will be a documentary, but will it be as in-depth and as thorough as this one? We'll never know. I mentioned Made in America because that was an extremely well-done documentary. That was very well fact-checked and cross-referenced, and we found new details. And so if you think of something like that and what he did there, and that story being applied to Prince, I can understand where maybe the estate got a little protective. You know, for us as fans, it's sad because we want to know everything, but are we really entitled to? I don't know. That's a question that we'll have to answer at a later date. I am willing to accept whatever they are going to put out because I love Prince, and, you know, any access and rare footage and things of that nature are exciting to see, but you would like to see the so-called real story. And I know that's hard because you want to respect people and let them keep their dignity. So we'll see what comes of that. At any rate, moving along, you know, Kim Kardashian is a marketing genius. Some would say other things, but we know that she knows how to get her product and her name out there. So recently it was announced that in addition to, you know, she has the new thing coming with Nike where they have hooked up, she has a 60-foot blow-up doll that has taken over Times Square. And it is Kim in a bikini because Skims is putting out swimwear coming up this season. And it is a huge thing right in the middle of New York's big tourist district area, I suppose. So she continues to cement herself in different spaces and rolling on. Can you believe that it has almost been 20 years since the first Keeping Up with the Kardashians episode premiered? So it's if you want to know the real number, it's about 18 where we're at right now. 18 years of a reality TV show family. I could not have imagined it. Could not. And, you know, they have the next generation primed and ready to go for us. So we'll see what rolls out with that. Okay, so this is news. There's a lot of sports shows that are coming out as of lately. We know we talked about the other day the new Netflix series, which stars Kate Hudson and is loosely based on Jeannie Buss, the owner of the Los Angeles Lakers, and her story and things of that nature. You know, I think that if you look closely, there's shades of what happened with Jeannie and Phil Jackson in there, even though the head coach on this series is played by Jay Ellis, who's obviously a black guy and younger and blah, 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 blah. But very much a lot of the things that are alluding to and some of the plot points in the story are definitely things that happened for Jeannie in her life. Well, there is another new pilot coming our way. Stars this one, Tracy Morgan, and he is going to be portraying a disgraced ex-football player trying to fix his image. It's going to be produced by Tina Fey and the team behind 30 Rock, so they'll be paired together again. And we know that Tracy had his show for a while that was on TBS, The Last OG, and so I'm curious if he makes it back. He and Tina, all of those SNL alums seem to have a certain type of magic and whatever together. But isn't Tracy kind of long in the? An ex-football player could be any age, but I don't know. It's interesting, the plethora of sports comedies that we have jumping out the window. I guess you can attribute that success to Ted Lasso. All I wanted was for HBO to keep winning time. But a story for another day. And lastly, Black China commented on her. I don't know if they were technically in-laws because she was never married to Rob Kardashian, but they were something. Their children are cousins and things of that nature. She commented on all of the things happening with Kanye West right now in a recent interview, and she says that she believes Kanye's behavior is a cry for help and that he is just looking for attention and lashing and acting out. Kanye, of course, being Kanye, commented back on one of the blogs that featured her commentary and said that she knows and about what that family is like and taking their children from them. So Kanye is maintaining his acting out is still the cause of that. So I think it's a combination of the three things. He misses his kids and thinks he's being treated poorly, whether fair or not. He also is courting attention because he's about to drop that Bully project and his clothing line and all of those things. And Kanye has the same playbook that he's kind of been drawing from. And yeah, it seems to work, but I really want him to play it up. And two, we do think that, he's talked about his issues with medication and such. So I think that the combination of the three leads us to where we are. Well, that was a loaded show. There's a lot on the agenda. We got into many, many things, and we are going to be getting into more things tomorrow night, 6 p.m., right here on KBLA. Where we're going to get all up in the business tomorrow. Thank you for locking in Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. You said what? I'm going to get to that, Andy. Yeah. Listen, thank you guys for locking in. Make sure that you were sit and waiting for the voice, Zoe Williams. And thank you for locking in with the front row seat to the culture. That would be me. Have a good night, y'all.
Tobago for a while. We met a few friends, had a good time, But while we were there, we experienced something called slow wine. No, it's not just drinking, no. Pay attention. Let me explain. Say, lady, you know the one thing that we're missing. Please, girl, pay attention. You see, I'd rather